There we go. Share screen once again. Share from beginning. Right. What is spoken word poetry? So a broad designation for poetry intended for performance, right? Though some spoken word poetry may also be published on the page, the genre has its roots in oral traditions and performance. Spoken word can encompass or contain elements of rap, hip-hop, storytelling, calypso, theater, and jazz, rock, blues, and folk music, characterized by rhyme, repetition, improvisation, and wordplay. Spoken word poems frequently refer to issues of social justice, politics, race, and community. It's related to slam poetry. Spoken word may draw on music, song, dance, or other kinds of performance to connect with audiences. And this is from poetryfoundation.org. Now, true spoken word poetry, right, normally does not have any song or dance or music or anything with it. It's just you and the mic. Just you and the mic. So you just approach the mic, you're ready, and you enter into the vibe, your poem, pon the mic, boom, flick, everything in a gear, right? That is how it normally is. That's true spoken word poetry. But of course, there's been many different ways in which the thing has been advanced and which people now approach the genre and mixing and matching and all kind of different things inside there, right? Difference between spoken word poetry and the written word. Spoken word is intended for performance. So that's simply it, right? Spoken word poetry, when you put them words on the page, is meant for you to then perform it, right? That's the major difference between spoken word and the written word. Now I have to go through all of the basics with you all just to make sure that you all have an understanding of what you all are performing as well, right? So the tools, what do you need to know to construct a good spoken word poem? That is the first question. One, the plan. That's really important. You need to plan the thing proper. Have an idea of what you want to write about, a theme. Well, this workshop is not based off of the Popes of the Tao to See, but rather is based off of the ever wider we, right? And you would have gotten a theme and everything like that and have a rundown of what all you're doing for Saturday. So plan your story. Who, what, where, when, why. You must know who the who is. You must know what the what is happening. You must know where the where is it happening, what is your setting, right? When, the time frame in which it's happening as well, which fits into your setting, and why. You must have a reasoning to give to the poem for it to have a good flow. So you must have characters, you must have the what, you must have the where, you must have the when, and you must have the why. And thirdly, you must master the art of storytelling. Practice telling stories to friends and families, see what they react to. And for example, do they like when you make certain voices or perform certain actions? So one of the most important things that you should be doing right now is mastering that art. You gotta be storytelling, telling a story, storytelling with everybody. And we naturally do it as well. I know, like when you're all in school and stuff and you're talking to your friend, you might say, Whiz, let me tell you something, girl or boy. And you know, that kind of exaggeration and that kind of thing to load up a story. If I tell you who I see yesterday, Whiz, right? That kind of thing, that kind of exaggeration, punditing, right, is a natural element of storytelling. And you want to bring that kind of vibe and that kind of energy into your poetry and into your performance as well, right? Any questions around this, the plan? Anybody has any questions? If you have a question, just open up your mic and ask the question away. No questions? Or you could drop it in the chat. That's totally fine. Let me just find my chat here.
I have a question.
Talk to Maya.
I don't usually I write poetry more than spoken word, but I was just wanted to ask, does spoken word need to be like a literal thing?
What do you mean by a literal thing?
Completely, like, kind of use like imagery and stuff.
Of course. Of course. So, sorry, you finish up your question? I cut you out.
Or does it have to be something that's completely literal, in a literal sense?
No. So actually, imagery is very important. And Calissa would know this. Calissa was the most important thing in spoken word poetry. Let me see if you remember. At quizzing you here
Is it the
the
metaphors?
metaphors. You know the thing. The metaphor is actually one of the most important things in spoken word poetry. We always talk about the metaphor and then all the other literary devices as well. So spoken word poetry does not have to be literal. In fact, the more figurative it is and the more creative you get with it, the better it is in the dance. So good question, Maya. Excellent question. Thank you so much. For those of you all who don't know, Calissa did this workshop with us before. She did the 2-day workshop. So I'll be calling on her a little bit to answer some questions just to see if she has retained the knowledge as well, because knowledge is power. Amen. Hallelujah. All right. So that is that with the plan, right? So it does not have to be literal. I hope that answers your question there. The more figurative, the more creative it is, more literary devices you use, and the proper usage of it is exceptional. Boom. Any other questions? No other questions. All right, so let's move. The second most important thing is the voice. The voice is important, and you need to play with different vocal techniques, inflections, and tones. Your voice is really important in spoken word poetry, right? A big part of your ratings and stuff comes with how you use your voice, how you utilize the voice, how you project. You have to make sure that people hear you, right? You want to make sure that when you're performing, that the people down to the back can hear you performing, that the people on the mic can hear your performance. You don't want to come and you see that? You want to avoid that, right? Sometimes people might have in their spoken word poetry a whisper part. It's important that you understand the usage of the microphone as well, because let's say you go up to the mic, right, and you have a whisper part inside there, right? You have to come in a little bit closer to the mic to be able to whisper. And there's a way in which you change your articulation and your voice to be able to whisper something so that everybody could hear, right? And that's important. So you need to play with those vocal techniques as well, so that you have a firm understanding and that you strengthen your different techniques inside there as well. Your voice is really important in spoken word. I can't stress that enough. The voice, really important. Very, very important. So always remember to play with different vocal techniques, your inflections, your tones. So if, for example, if it's a sad or somber part, you might want to change your tone a little bit. You might go a little bit quieter, you know, to build the feel of that sadness or that somberness. Or if it's something where you're surprised, you know, you might go a little bit louder to make sure and say, oh my God, you know, wow, oh my gosh, right? So it's about understanding emotions and linking emotions to the voice as well, to the vocal techniques inside there as well. That is very, very important. So remember that. Any questions around the voice? Okay, so no questions around the voice. I'll move to the next thing, which is 3, the actions, right? Body language, gesticulation, and your facial expressions. You have to remember that at the end of the day, it's performance poetry. So on the page, Maya, you said that you write poetry regularly, right, on paper. Yeah, you ever had to read one of your poems out loud from paper?
Not really. I think I did once, but that was a while ago.
Okay, so the difference between spoken word poetry and when you're reading regular poetry. So if I pull out a regular poem that I wrote and read, is that you tend to read it in one voice when it's a regular reading. So oftentimes when you go to a poetry reading, when it's poetry on the page, you would hear them just speak in one monotone straight throughout, right? One tone essentially. It's not like that for spoken word poetry. Remember, it's a performance at the end of the day. So your body language, your gesticulation, your facial expressions, all these things are very, very important, very essential for your performance execution, right? So the way in which you use your body, the way in which you use your shoulders, your hands, you know, what you're doing with your hands, the way in which you move around the mic. So you would see, I don't know if you all ever saw, anybody here, you all watch the National Poetry Slam at all? Anybody watched it?
I did.
Okay, so Jada watched it. Anybody else watched or took in the National Poetry Slam?
Not this year one, but last
But,
year one,
but
yes.
you've seen some before, right? You all have seen different ones. You always see them doing all sorts of things around the mic, moving, moving ahead to certain ways to sell a story or to sell an idea or a concept. And those things are very important as well. The way in which you move in this space is very important, right? Your body language, your gesticulation as well. What you do with your hands, how you do it. What are you going to freeze? Is there a freeze for a dramatic point to be brought? All these different things. And then your facial expressions. You don't want to be reading a poem that's about let's say, love of family. And you're reading the poem like if you're angry, like you're saying, I love my mother. You understand? No, you don't want to do that, right? You want to make sure that what you're doing makes sense as well. So make sure your facial expressions, your gesticulation, and your body language matches what is on the performance piece itself. So practice those things as well. What I normally advise people to do is learn their piece fully, right? You fully learn up your piece, and then you practice with the different emotions, actions, gesticulations, etc., etc. Right? Any questions around the actions?
I have a question. When I'm performing poetry, the couple of times that I've done it in front of an audience, I always struggle to find a balance between overdoing it and kind of standing still. So how should I gauge what's too much or what's necessary and what takes away from the piece?
Excellent question. Excellent question. One of the mistakes that a lot of new poets often make is that they often think that they have to overcompensate with their actions, their gesticulations, everything. One of the things, excuse me, one of the pieces of advice I normally give to people is that your actions should be a natural flow. You understand? And what do I mean by that? I mean, in your everyday conversation, and this is what I try to get people to do, look and examine your everyday conversation with people. Look at what you do naturally, right? And those are the things that you want to kind of enhance. So, for example, if you're doing a piece and you're having a conversation with, let's say, a friend, right? Think about how you speak to your friends normally. So you might talk to your friends, they might say, yo girl, what's the scene? I don't know what the young people slang is nowadays, right? In that genre, in the Gen Z era. But you might have some certain things that you do with your hands, some gesticulations and things, right? Inside there, that's your natural movements. Right? And that's what you want to try to do when you're performing your spoken word piece as well. Make your movements natural, make it make sense. So one of the things that I've seen people do is that they try to overcompensate because they think that that has to be a lot of performance, and it ends up distracting away from your performance. For example, if I'm doing something like this constantly throughout, right, it's going to distract you. You're going to start to think, what am I doing with my hands? What is the purpose of that? And if you have some important lines to be dropped inside there, right, then doing things like this or doing big actions constantly would distract you completely from the piece. So it's about understanding, why am I doing this? What is the purpose behind my action? What is the purpose behind my movement? Is there a purpose behind the movement? So always give your movements purpose. What we do is something called scoring the script. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Jada.
No.
Okay, so what we do with scoring the script is that you actually go through your piece, right? You select out what we call beats, right? Which are really the areas where you have a certain theme or change in idea or change in concept, right? And then you put emotions next to it. So you want to be happy for the section, you want to be sad for the section, etc. But you can also put your gesticulations next to it, especially for new poets. I normally recommend this. You put, okay, a movement of hand here, and you could actually put a reason behind it. Because what that does on a psychological level, when you actually write out what the reasoning is for doing an action, you remember to do that action naturally because you've written it out. So you've justified in your mind. So there's a reason now to have an attachment between that action and the words that are being said. So what I recommend is actually scoring your script. And you all could look up that, right? Scoring a script is something that we use in theater and acting, but it's something that can be used for your piece as well. So that's your homework. You can take a note of that. Look up scoring a script.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problems. Any other questions with regards to actions? Fantastic. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next area, and that is my favorite and the most important thing in poetry, because it can't be poetry without this, Literary devices are your best friend, and that is the most important thing. I can't stress that enough. The way in which you're going to have a good poem is with good literary devices. Good thing. You have to put in good thing. Make sure I'm putting some good devices inside there, right? It's super important. So your imagery, your metaphors, your similes, your onomatopoeia, your irony, your juxtapositions, all these different things add to your piece. It gives it the extra flair in the vibes. You understand? So you need to look up that. You need to know your literary devices and you need to execute them properly inside there. They are your best friends. The metaphor is king. We oftentimes say this in all spoken word spaces. If you go to any spoken word workshop, I can guarantee 9 times out of 10, you'll hear somebody say the metaphor is king, right? The metaphor is a figure of speech. One second. Right. The metaphor is a figure of speech that describes an object or action in a way that isn't literally true, but helps explain an idea or make a comparison. Here are the basics. A metaphor states that one thing is another thing. It equates those two things, not because they actually are the same, but for the sake of comparison or symbolism. If you take a metaphor literally, it will probably sound very strange. Are there actually any sheep, black or otherwise, in your family? No. And this is taken from Grammarly.com, right? So it's always a comparison between two things, and that's important to note. And the metaphor is king. Use your metaphors. It is the most basic way to enter into spoken word poetry, to start by using metaphors as one of your first literary devices. So strong metaphors, important. Try not to use cliche metaphors, things that you've heard before. For example, the black sheep in the family is a very cliche metaphor. You want to avoid cliche metaphors. You want to try and come up with your own metaphors as much as possible to make it strong, right? And somebody like me, who will be a judge at the competition on Saturday, if I hear a very cliche metaphor, I'm going to watch and say, wait, I hear that metaphor 1,000 times. You know, you listen to a poem and you rock back with the same metaphor there. Nah, we didn't want that. So make sure that you have strong metaphors inside there. That is very important. Okay. Why and the next page. Boom, let's create some metaphors. You can't come to our workshop and expect to just sit down and vibe straight through. We're going to do some metaphor creations, right? Now, this one was on the environment for this last workshop that I did, but this time I guess we could create some metaphors around poverty. So I want you all to take 5 minutes right now, 5 minutos, right? And create some metaphors that deal with the idea of poverty or the underprivileged or the marginalized in society, anything along those lines, right? So you could take 5 minutes and create 5 metaphors that deal with something along those lines. So that is your walk right now. I'm going to stop my share, right? And you all can go ahead and do that. That is the vibe. That is the vibe, right? So everybody has that. Any questions with regards to that? Okay, if we have no questions, then I want you all to begin your metaphor writing. And at 6:35, I'm giving you all 7 minutes, right? We're going to come back on and I'm going to hear some of your metaphors around poverty, the marginalized, the underprivileged in our society, right? Anything along those lines, you can write some metaphors, not meta fives, but metaphors about. All right, so I'll see you all in 7 minutes. Hi, Naphilia. I'm going to need you to turn on your camera just really briefly so that I can see who's with us. And just introduce yourself.
Sir Aaron, sir.
No, not Aaron, Naphilia, sorry. Oh, she's
Oh.
connecting to the audio. Let me see.
Hello?
Hi, Naphilia.
Hi.
Are you participating in the competition on Saturday?
Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Why is it recording? Okay.
There we go. Are you participating in the competition on Saturday?
Sorry, you're sounding really soft and then it's like echoing. Why is it echoing?
Because you're logged on 2 devices. So it
Yeah,
will
I was
echo.
trying to get on my phone and it wasn't
You want me to?
connecting. It's still saying it's not connected, so I don't understand why.
Okay, I will remove the other one from the room, right?
I'm hearing myself more than I'm hearing you.
One sec. Okay. You should be hearing me. Are you hearing now? Better? Your mic is muted.
Yeah, I'm hearing you a lot better now.
Perfect. Okay, so what we're doing, we're just running through an assignment now that we actually just came to the end of on metaphors. So you joined in good time because we're going to go into the literary device section next, right? So just hold steadfast. The good news is that this is being recorded, so you will get access to it after. So you can just review the content if you want from before, right? And all other participants will get access as well. But guys, I need you all to turn on your cameras right about now as we prepare to enter into I need to hear your metaphors. You're actually going to read them out for me so I can hear the vibe, right? So if everybody can turn on their camera once again. Lovely, lovely. Do we have any volunteers who would like to go first? Any volunteers? All right, Maya, go ahead.
Okay. Their hungry bellies echoed the sounds of drums. Their bodies were broken sticks. That's 2. 3 was the people were sewn together, were yarn sewn together as they worked. The 4th one is they were camels toiling in the sun. And the 5th one is their bodies were clumps of clay at the side of the road.
Great. Thank you so much, Maya. So an example, you have some really good ones inside there, but an example of a cliche metaphor would be their bodies were like broken sticks. And what I mean by that is that I'm sure you've heard that other people say that in their poems before as well, right? Yeah. So what you might want to try instead is probably looking at what type of stick, probably the description of the stick. So you could actually give a description that's a little bit more insightful inside there that adds to the metaphor. So you could take a cliche metaphor and actually add to it and embellish it, right? So that's always an option that you can explore as well. Next, who would like to go next? All right, I'll just call people then. Jada, you want to go next?
Sure, I had a little trouble developing the ideas in the time because I didn't want to use a metaphor that would take too long to explain or be cliche. So the first one, comparing it to menstruating, a predictable cycle, it's very rarely broken. The second one, comparing it to a prison.
So
A
no,
prison cell.
I don't want you to explain your metaphor. I just want you to read the metaphor because we're supposed to be able to get it immediately
Okay.
as you read it, right? And then if we don't understand it, then you can explain it after to us, yeah?
Yeah. This second one, a prison cell written in their cells, a death sentence at birth when born into a world where a bank account determines your worth. The third one, both predator and prey hunting for food, but being hunted the same way. We're short.
That's it. Great. All right. So again, you have some good ones inside there, but the predator and prey is again one of those metaphors that's very often used. You know, so a way to get away from that is to actually look at or describe a situation where you actually identify a type of predator and you identify a type of prey. You understand? And probably not ones that people are accustomed doing, like a lion and a gazelle, but something a little bit more unique as well inside there. Let's say you know, maybe a caiman or something. I don't know. I'm just joking. It depends on what your piece is about as well, right? But you can look at other animals, for example, the black panther and something, you know, and the black panther itself could be a representation of something else, so that you have levels and layers to your metaphors. When you start to layer your metaphors, oof, it snaps go come like that, right? So layering metaphors is always something that's pretty fun as well. Theater, did I get that right? I'm hoping, I'm praying. All right.
Yeah, you got it right. Okay. Okay. They moved around, leaving a field of fruit flies in their wake. They carried designer Gucci bag. They carried designer garbage bags, sleeping soundly on prime newspaper beds. Egyptian cotton replaced with old ripped up clothes.
Level, easy. I like those. Good job. You all got it right, what she was talking about there and stuff. Yeah. Just again, layering the metaphor is important. That's the only thing that I would tell you. Is something that you could add to just give it a little oomph, a little bit more spark inside there as well. And what I mean by that is that you could add a little bit more description or imagery to a metaphor as well, in terms of like they carry designer garbage bags. That's a level though. I like that. I really like that. That's have a vibe. They carry designer mad. Right? But like something like that, you might want to add something else onto it. You could add something else so you can build on the metaphor as well. As well, one of the things I'd always suggest to you all, I know that this is just one off, right? So I didn't expect anything real intense, but make sure that your metaphors also link back or could link back into something, right? You don't want just a floating metaphor. Sometimes people just drop a metaphor in the middle of the desert, right? Then you're like, what does metaphor have to do with anything there? And you're just scratching your head trying to figure out what the metaphor is about. Don't throw in metaphors for throwing in metaphors' sake as well. That's just an aside, right? For you all to remember as well. Nakisha, Aaron, and then Calista, right? I know Ophelia came in a little bit later.
So I actually did everything in one.
Sure.
See me from my point of view, my home boxed in, these clothes, cloth, I call it rags from my hair. I'm an ape, please don't give, because every morning my hair is sponged out. There goes the slave trade, as a day in her life is what I treat.
Hello, trying to hit me. I wasn't expecting we to go this deep so fast now, boy. Like we're going real deep tonight, but level. I like it. Right? Just repeat it again for my one time. You said something about the airplane there. So you said her hair like an airplane punch. What was the line?
Not airplane.
Okay. Go ahead. You can repeat it. Just from the top.
Okay. See me from my point of view, my home boxed in, these clothes, cloth, I call it rags from my hair. I'm an ape, please don't give, because every morning my hair is sponged out. there goes the slave trade as a day in her life is what I treat.
Level. Okay. What's that word? It's not airplane. It's I am a what?
Ape.
Ape. Ape is what you said. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Is it a play? Is it a play on racism as well? Let me ask.
No, I said he is sponged out. You know, if he is sponged out, you have to take out sponge
Yeah.
and eat pick at the fleas.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You hit me some real depth there. Some real depth there inside there as well. Nah, level. I thought it was actually a play on racist remarks that people make as well towards a lot of people who are impoverished. So I interpreted it as that as well inside there. But level, dog, level. That's what we talk about. And I like your flow and everything. You had a good flow and stuff. Just your pronunciation, just watch that and make sure that you practice that as well, right? And enunciate your words and stuff. And you should be good to go. I don't know how I hear the airplane. Maybe my ear is just bad. I need to clean all the wax inside the pressure. Aaron.
Well, sir, I only get two. I don't think I could compete with what they say, sir. And so the first one is the house's backyard was a garbage field, and the second one is poverty is a disease.
Okay. I mean, very, very simple metaphors inside there. Just remember to always build on your metaphor. So whenever you hit it again, right, and you're going in for your piece that you're writing, build on your metaphor, stretch it, right? Go all kind of directions with it. People are going to have multiple interpretations of what you have and stuff. And always let your piece and your metaphors come from your heart now, boy, as well. Come from like a place, as I mentioned earlier when we're starting up, it comes from a place of social injustice. So when there's a lot of social injustice, your piece is supposed to speak to that as well, right? And you just want to make sure and feel that energy when you're writing your pieces and thing. And make sure and put that extra effort to stretch it that extra mile as well, right? Level. Easy, brother. Calissa?
So disclaimer, I had technical difficulties throughout most of it. So I was trying to sort that out, but I only have one. And it's kind of cliche in my opinion, but I have their stomachs were empty cups waiting for God to overflow it. I don't know what that means. but okay.
No, that's real solid, yo. Like the stomachs were empty cups waiting for God to over. Nah, that bad. Mad. Snaps. Right. I see you remember things from the last workshop as well, so that's good. Yeah, whatever. But everybody I think everybody, y'all have some real depth, boy. How old are y'all? If everybody could just give me a age thing. Like Jada, how old are you? Maya, how old are you?
I'm 15.
15, Maya.
16.
Aaron.
13, sir.
Nakisha.
18.
And Sarah.
I'm 18.
And Calissa, you're 17, right? All right.
Yep.
And Ophelia, how old are you?
I'm 24.
24. Okay, great. Nice. So we have a good range here. Aaron, I didn't realize you were so young. So I mean, so that was good. That was good for your attempt and stuff there. Again, push your limits, right, bro? Push your limits, right? But you're the youngest
Thanks.
in the group in here. But good job thus far. All right, I'm seeing 2 more people asking to come in, and then I'm going to share and enter back in to the session, right? Azaria, did you finish up yours? Azaria? Yeah, you want to read it out for us? How old are you, Azaria?
16.
1 sec, guys. Sahedio Rupnarain? Sahedio Rupnarain, are you there? I'm gonna need you to turn on your camera, else I'm gonna have to remove you from the session, right? Sahadio? Sahadio, are you there? Sahadio, I will need you to turn on your camera, else I'm going to have to remove you from the session. Sahadio? Sahadio Rupnarain? All right, I'm going to have to remove you from the session, okay? If you're hearing me, you're being removed. All right, sorry about that, guys. It's just that, you know, because of the nature of these sessions, again, we can't have any random people just coming in as well. It must be people who signed up for the session to protect everybody as well. Azaria, yes, sorry about that. You want to go ahead and read off first? How old are you? Sorry, I missed that.
16.
16, okay. You want to go ahead and read what you have?
I came up with poverty as a royal pain.
That's it, just one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So again, what you want to do is that you want to practice stretching your metaphor, going beyond just some of the things that we hear often and stuff, but looking beyond that as well. So for example, you know, you could actually go into the description of the pain. So it was what type of royal pain, you know, it was a deadly royal pain, etc. So adding words like that as well, adverbs to describe your adjectives, is always important. You could look at that as an option, right? That is an immediate quick win situation to expand your metaphor. Beyond that, you want to look again at the layering aspect. So always layer your metaphors, right? And the best way to become really good at metaphors is to constantly be writing metaphors. So every day, dedicate 5 or 6 minutes and just write metaphor after metaphor after metaphor after metaphor. You know, you just write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, and you just go. And then you can have like a book of metaphors. Okay, I'm seeing this person is Joshua Villalva. Give me 1 second. I just need to admit them and find out, and we'll start back in the session. Right? Okay, this again this picture. Let's see if he turns on his camera. Connecting to audio. Excuse me. Sorry, so sorry about this, guys. Joshua, I'm going to need you to turn on your camera. Joshua?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Are you there? Are you a participant in the competition on Saturday?
Yeah.
Are you participating on the competition on Saturday?
Yes, I am.
All right. How old are you?
24.
24. Okay. All right, Joshua. Thanks for joining us, man. Welcome on board. We wasn't sure who it was before, but welcome. All right, guys. So moving along, I'm going to share my screen once again, and we're going to finish up and wrap up with this last piece here. And I encourage you all to pull out your pen, pull out your paper, and let me get it, because this is very, very important, right? The next set of stuff, the other popular literary devices. So I say metaphor is king, but that doesn't mean that the metaphor is the only thing that you should be using in your whole spoken word piece. You need to expand above and beyond. So the simile is the next thing, right, that you want to know as well. Similes, also known as indirect comparisons, are similar in construction to metaphors, but they imply a different meaning. Like metaphors, two unrelated objects are being compared to each other. Unlike a metaphor, the comparison relies on the words like or as. So that's the difference, right? Like or as. Simile is not as popular in the spoken word space because anybody can compare things saying like, you know, or as. It's a much easier way. We say it's the cheap metaphor. You know, it's like you're going and you're buying thing high quality somewhere, and then you're going down and you buy it and it's low quality. Is like the low quality metaphor. Is like you call this boy tang, or you know, tang juice. Is like you're going to buy a watch and you end up with tang, right? The simile is like tang. You know, that's the best way I could describe it. So try not to use similes as much. You could use it once or twice, 3 times, right? But metaphor, we prefer metaphors to similes in the spoken word community. Imagery. Is imagery a literary device? Absolutely. Imagery can be both literal and figurative, and it relies on the interplay of language and sensation to create a sharper image in your brain. So for example, you're talking about landscapes, and you could be speaking about the trees, how they blow in the wind and welcome the stars with a budding wave. You can see things like that, and you paint the picture, so you know that already is nighttime because I say stars. You know that the trees, you're in a forested area or area with a lot of trees, etc., pastures, etc., all these different things. So imagery is always important, and it helps to build a setting as well. People like imagery. People like imagery. Imagery is always something great to use in spoken word pieces. Other popular literary devices: symbolism. Symbolism combines a lot of the ideas presented in metaphor and imagery. Essentially, a symbol is the use of an object to represent a concept. It's kind of like a metaphor, except more concise. So for an example of a symbolism, I don't know how many of you are familiar with The Great Gatsby. Anybody here familiar with The Great Gatsby? That novel? Yeah, no, maybe. I can't see all your head. Look, wait, boom, right. If you all are familiar with that, the color yellow is a strong symbolism inside there, and that's something that you could utilize as well. You might want to utilize colors as symbolisms inside there, or sometimes an item could also be a symbol within your piece. For example, like you might use, let's say in a religious piece, you might use the recurring symbolism of the cross as part of that, right? As a recurring imagery inside there. Or you might use something like or if you ever heard of the show, the play Moon on a Rainbow Shawl, the rainbow shawl is a recurring symbolism inside there as well. I'm thinking, what else? What other books? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The idea of the wardrobe and the lion, recurring symbolisms inside there as well. The lion especially, and you would see certain things inside there that kind of add up to representing certain things. For example, the lion is a representation of bravery and all that. So every time you see he pops up, you would see that it's there's always something encouraging or around bravery or courage or things along that. So he became a symbolism for courage inside there. So that's important to remember, symbolisms. Personification, giving human attributes to non-human objects, is a powerful way to foster empathy in your readers. Death pointed its icy finger towards him, right? I just personified death. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like things like that. Now that's a real cheap personification. Is not very layered. It's not anything. I was just giving you an example, right? Don't be like me. Use proper thing and make sure and put the effort into all your thing, right? So when you're performing with high quality. Boom. Other popular literary devices: hyperbole. You must know it. You must know the thing. You must know the thing, the hyper in the bully, because we do it all the time. Trinidadians naturally use hyperbole in everyday life. In fact, right now I use an hyperbole. All right. You know that one friend who describes things very dramatically? They're probably speaking in hyperboles. Hyperbole is just a dramatic word for being over dramatic. I mean, come on, like, whew. Basically, hyperbole refers to any sort of exaggerated description or statement. And then there's irony. Is irony a literary device? Yes, but it's often used incorrectly. People often describe something as being ironic when really it's just a moment of dark humor. So the colloquial use of the word irony is a bit off from its official definition as a literary device, right? So irony, is when you have a lot of juxtapositions that occur with irony inside there, right? So it's important to note that irony is something that would pop up from time to time naturally within your pieces. You might be writing a piece and you don't even realize that there's irony inside there, right? Cool vibes. Boom. Okay, we're going to write in a few. But before we write up a writing and thing, I want to know if there's any questions and thing inside the dance. Anybody have any questions? Like any questions? Anybody want to know anything?
I have one question.
Joshua, roll through. Run that question there, buddy.
They say the prizes, right? They say it's about 4,000 in prizes. Like, what kind of prizes?
Exactly. All right. So that is not a question that I am going to answer today, Joshua, because I'm just teaching the spoken word masterclass, right? So that's a question I could email the organizer. I think she had a thing inside there, and she'll give you that breakdown, right? So any questions with regards to the actual class, the actual masterclass, guys?
It's not really a question, but I just tried to layer a metaphor. So could I try one again?
Sure. Yeah, hit it now.
Okay. What was that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. To some, it's just a game, but how can you get past a golden gate when the other team is 5 steps ahead with a drive to win, and you can't afford the food at the drive-in? Both of you have a hunger drive-in to succeed, but you need to concede because your team can't afford the Jordans for your feet, and they can't afford the curry to eat. A perpetual losing streak.
Level. One of the things I recommend, though, Jada, is that you know where to pause in your pieces as well, right? Because you had some real hard hitting metaphors inside there, layered very well. And I feel as if you had hit them pauses at certain points, you would have drive it home. Like if you're driving at full speed in a car there, so know where to layer, where to pause, to bust your pauses to get a dramatic effect. Because you have some real hard hitting metaphors inside there, right? So that would be my piece of advice for you.
Okay, thank you.
No probs. All right, guys. So we're gonna go into a little bit of writing here, just really quickly. And this will be the last part for the session here. So basically, we have 4 pictures up on the screen. Yeah, Calissa, you would have seen these pictures before in the last session. So just pick one of the pictures that you did not do and write on that, right? I want you all to pick out one of these photos, or do all 4. You could do something with all 4, but I prefer if you all pick out a singular one. And we're going to spend the next, what time is it? It is now 6:59. So we're going to spend the next, let's say 10 to 15 minutes just writing. I just want you all to spend the time writing. Pick out a piece, get into the practice, utilizing some of the techniques that we just had, the literary devices, etc., that we just had as well. So pick out a picture here, get into the writing mood, write up, and you're good to go. And I'll see you all in 20 minutes. And after that, we'll close off the session and finish up for this evening. And then I wish you all good luck, and I will see you all on Saturday. All right. So you're, sorry, any questions? Yeah, sorry about that.
I just want to clarify something with the theme. Is it on the poor, or is it on migrants and refugees, or can you mix it? You
can mix it. It's on the poor generally, right? So it's on the poor generally, but you can mix it. It's about anybody who's marginalized, any vulnerable communities, or anybody who exists in poverty.
Okay, thank you.
Right, anything along those lines is what the theme marches on. Yeah. Cool. All right, any other questions before we go into this session? All right, so happy writing, guys. You'll do your best, right? And I'll check you all back in just about 15. Later.